Let's go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. My name is Colleen McKay-Wharton, and I'm here at the Community Living Education Project. I think many of you have actually been joining our monthly conversations, so welcome back for those of you that have been. Our monthly sessions have been called Sharing Possibilities and Self-Direction, and we are really delighted to be sponsoring these programs with the New Jersey Division on Developmental Disabilities, as you all know. And today's session is focusing on the interactive map. And the title is What You Need to Know About the Interactive Map and How It Can Help. So Tricia Brennan, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you to start us off. I don't hear you, Patricia.
Sorry,
there we go.
I was muted. Hi, everybody. Good morning. Happy day after Labor Day. Again, wanted to talk to you a little bit about what these sessions have been. They have been for the Office of Self-Directed Education Services, and we have been partnering with CLEP to perform these sessions, just to kind of start off. So the first one we did talked a lot about, you know, what it is that we were looking for from these sessions. And then the second one we did was what was support brokers, to kind of build upon it. And then the third one was how to do a circle of support. The fourth one was the FI. And then this last one we're doing prior to the, as we're rounding out the fall, and we'll be starting up soon again later on, is kind of some of the resources that are out there for those of you who are self-directed. And so what is our office? So we're giving you these resources, but who are we? Where do we come from? What is our mission? We provide a centralized place for the delivery of education and training for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, receiving services, their families, advocates, and support coordinators.
They're just not going to do that. Yeah. So
who are interested in community partners and other internal
anyway,
stakeholders.
I am going to have to join this.
They were staffed by subject matter experts in self-directed services.
Or Thursday or Friday. All right.
Hold on.
I think I have somebody who's not muted.
Yeah,
they provide education. We are providing education and support so that people under self-directed service can live their best lives. If you can move on to the next slide, I would greatly appreciate it. Mm-hmm. So our core belief goes along with the core beliefs of the community practice for supporting families, that all people and their families have the right to live, love, work, play, and pursue their life aspirations in their community. Really trying to focus on the all and in their community so that everybody can be as included as possible as they are self-directing, as they're navigating their own systems in their lives. We want to make sure that all these pieces are put together. So again, this is the core belief of everything that we've been doing. So you can move on to the next slide. So who are we? Here's meet our staff. Most of the folks here are on this session. And so you'll get to see a picture of them, which is awesome. So that's myself. It's Jessica Lycona. She is the assistant director. Kimberly Jessamine, who is one of our supervisors. Adam Weir, who's another supervisor. Christine Jones, William Billups, and Marguerite Lanchambon. So that's our staff. That's who we are. This is the rest of our team. We have supervisors. We have subject matter family and that subject matter experts who are family and education services liaisons. They really try to work you through as a in that formal transition case manager role. They are the family and advocate liaison to educate you as the next step. So you have a support coordinator, but they're going to help guide you as to what the education you may be needing. So that's who our office is and what we do. There's our email address if you've got questions, and if you don't know the answer, we will get it to you. And so again, we are the Office of Education on Self-Directed Services. So I am going to turn it over to CLEP. There you go. That's the next slide.
We're great. Thank you, Tricia. So just a reminder of who the Community Living Education Project is. We go by CLEP. We're a small but mighty team of 7 professionals, 4 of whom are family members themselves with decades not only of lived experience, but also professional experience. And really our primary role is to help guide and mentor families as they explore community living options, whatever those may be. And we'll talk about those a bit later. We are funded by DDD since 1991, and we serve all of New Jersey. We are based here at the Rutgers School of Public Health. So here's just some lovely photos of our staff here, many of whom you'll already know, I'm sure. Natalie Trump, Melanie McGackin, Maria Schiavello, Ann Martinelli, Mary Canor, and Laura Warren is our communications specialist. And that's me down there. That's Colleen McKay-Wharton. So just a couple quick Zoom tips so we can get on with the show. We do want to hear from you. And if you have a comment that you'd like to share, please do use the chat feature. If you want to raise your hand, and we're going to ask you to do that later, you'll notice that at the bottom of your Zoom screen, you kind of see this toolbar that looks like this. You'll see an option to click on reactions. And reactions, when you click on that, it will pop up and you'll see the option to raise your hand. So please do raise your hand, but we're going to ask for some feedback later, and we want to be sure to hear from all of you. If there are some background noise happening, please do mute yourselves. I'm trying to do that here as we go along, but if you can take a minute to mute yourselves so that doesn't get distracting during the presentation. Do also please be mindful of privacy. I know there's a lot of sort of specific questions that you may have, but please try to keep questions or comments general if possible, just to assure privacy of everyone. And if you do have a really specific question about your personal circumstances, please do use that help email from DDD that Patricia shared earlier. So I'm going to just do a really quick poll. We'd like to kind of get a sense of who's on the call today. So I think you should see that pop up. We're asking who's with us today. If you make the choice from being a self-advocate or a family member or a caregiver, a self-directed employee. All right, it looks like we're getting most. And if you don't see your option listed there, please do just go ahead and jot it in the chat box. Okay, I'll end the poll here and let me just share these results. So looks like we have a lot of family members and caregivers. Wonderful. And it's really nice to see support brokers and professionals here as well, and wonderful to have self-advocates also. Okay, let me stop sharing that. And lastly, let's get started with the program. We have three wonderful presenters who will introduce themselves in a moment. We're going to be talking about the interactive map and what that really is and how it can help you. We have Anthony Vasquez, who is an advocacy coordinator with the collaborative. We have Amy Watts, who is the coordinator of learning and development at Neighbors. And we have Marian Fraterola Solin, who is the co-founder and executive director of Values into Action. After their presentation and we get some feedback and ideas from all of you, we'll have a Q&A and we'll also share some other resources at the end. And with that, I will stop sharing. And Marian, I'm going to turn it over to you so that you can share your slides. And I think I see that. Perfect. You're good to go.
Everybody see? Okay, great. Thank you, Colleen. Thank you, CLEP. Thank you for everybody taking the time on this happy Tuesday after Labor Day. We're really happy that you're with us, and we really, really appreciate the opportunity to collaborate with CLEP on this important topic. And happy to be part of the self-directed system here in New Jersey. My name is Marian Fraterola Solino. I will say I'm a middle-aged white woman. I'm not going to disclose age here for privacy, conditions. I'm wearing a black shirt. I have medium length brunette hair, brown hair, and I'm wearing big silver hoop earrings. I serve as the board chair for the Collaborative for Citizen Directed Supports, and I'm going to describe the collaborative and tell you how we got started in a minute. Amy, do you want to introduce yourself, and then Anthony, and then we can get started?
Sure. Thank you. My name is Amy Watts. I am the coordinator of learning and development over at Neighbors, Inc. Marian does way better job describing herself than I do, so I'm going to leave that to her. But it's a fancy way to say that I do the trainings over at Neighbors, Inc. And I've been a part of the collaborative for several years now, and I'm really proud of the work we put into this interactive map. And I thank you for your time today, and I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to kind of show you what we put together, and hopefully you find it useful. And Anthony? your turn.
Hi, my name is Anthony Vasquez. I'm a self-advocate. I've been working with the collaborative for a little while now. I basically give my life perspective and hopes that I can assist the collaborative with life experiences, and that they can through my life experience, they can get ideas to make this a little better. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Anthony.
Anthony, thank you. Thanks for all you do for the map, and Amy as well. So the title of the presentation, and we've been doing this a lot, is Out of Crisis Comes Control. As Colleen described, the interactive map can be a resource for those of you self-directing your own services or the services of your family member or someone you are working for. So we're going to tell you a little bit about the collaborative. So the collaborative started as a result of 3 support coordination agencies coming together to talk about what we could do to better promote choice and control for people with disabilities and their families using services through the division. Those organizations were Neighbors Incorporated, Service Access and Management, or SAM, and Values into Action, which is the organization I work for. And again, this was at a time pre-pandemic, feels like a long, long time ago, actually. It was 2015 when the 3 organizations, as I said, came together to just try to brainstorm ways that we could do more than just refer people to programs. How could we really work with people and their families around understanding not only what their support needs were, but what were their aspirations and their preferences in terms of how they wanted to live their life, and then how could we use the planning process and help them use their DDD funding to really develop a constellation of services that would help them become who they want to be and get them where they want to go, all while considering what was most important to them and their families. So for the collaborative, it really comes down to, we are an organization that over the course of the last 5 or 6 years has really been less about constituents and more about building around this cause of promoting and advancing self-direction, so that ultimately people are living the kind of lives they want to lead. Families are part of that process. They're leading that process along with their family members, and they're able to use the self-directed system here in New Jersey. The other thing that the collaborative strives to do is to really focus on innovation in services. We know that lots of providers are doing really great things, and some of them are using models of service that are really, really old, and not that they're bad in and of themselves, but we know better because we learn from self-advocates and from families, and oftentimes the ones that end up doing it on their own, right? Tricia, you talk a lot about meeting years and years ago with family members who said, wait a second, give us an opportunity to direct the funding, and we'll do it better. We'll do it better alongside our family members. So the collaborative does seek to highlight providers and groups and organizations who really are trying to innovate in this space. So our membership has grown through the years, which has been really good. As I said, the 3 founding members are support coordination agencies, but we have been very fortunate to welcome in other providers of waiver services, if you will. So we've got a few organizations that strive to provide only home and community-based services. So these are not organizations that run programs per se, but rather organizations that really are striving to meet the needs and the preferences of people that they are supporting. And there's two of these organizations are also providing support brokerage services, which of course is a service that's really key to people being successful with self-directing their services or directing the services of their family members. So a big part of what the collaborative was doing prior to the pandemic was creating spaces, physical spaces where people could actually come together in person and talk about what was most important to them as they either thought about taking control of their services, or there were some people who had control of their services but were struggling with kind of how to make the best possible life for themselves or their family members. So when we talk about self-direction, sometimes I think it can be confusing because we think people have to like be able to do this on their own. And what we're learning, and with the support of the division and certainly an organization like CLEP, is that it really does take a village. And the division has worked really hard over the last several years to really build up that supports brokerage service. We as the collaborative have tried to do what we can to spread the message and really get people excited about this service and encouraging people to think about becoming supports brokers. The other thing that the collaborative has really attempted to do is to work effectively with the two fiscal intermediary organizations in New Jersey, understanding that there's lots of issues and challenges, but there's also opportunities to make things better. And so one of the things that we have been able to do is create effective relationships with those two organizations and to really help people understand supported decision-making and to understand that there are resources and supports to really help people and their families take control of their services. I'm going to turn it over to Amy now. And Amy, you just let me know when you want me to advance the slides for you.
Got it. Thank you, Marion. So as we talk about self-direction when it relates to support services for people, right? This is very, very personalized. I want to take it back a step, and I want to think about self-direction as, and I looked it up this morning, and I found this really great definition, because there's lots of ways you can define self-direction. But I want to make it that personal one where it's an ability and tendency to act without being told what to do. And that's just a really simple way to say that if you go into a conversation or you go into a planning process and you're assuming that the human being or the person that you're supporting, or that is the person who's going to receive the services, has an opinion, and no matter how they communicate, they have the ability to make some choices. So that's when we talk about starting with the person, right? As some of these strategies to have and to support somebody to have a self-directed life, the way you start is you start at the beginning, and you start with the person and go in assuming that they're going to have an opinion on what it is that's happening with them. One of the best things to do, obviously, is to be organized. All right, so I'm an A-type personality. My mommy taught me that if you make a list, you get things done. So if you take the idea and we sort of strategize and think about how and what needs to be done, there's a vision and a plan and resources that help you do that. So one of the very big ones is the Charting the Life course resources, which is a really great way to think about, to have a conversation about what self-directed supports means to you, because what works for you would not work for me or for another person. It's all about you. So Colleen would be so kind as to put that link in for the Charting the Life course, just so you guys have access to it. There's a great website that describes it, as well as has the tools. And then again, a breakdown of the tools and kind of how you can use it. Thanks, Colleen. We want to, when we talk about supports, so let's talk about support staff, because we can talk all we want about these wonderful services, right? There's job coaching, and there's support brokerage, and there's horseback riding lessons, and there's day programs, and there's all sorts of these great services. But what it really comes down to for someone to lead an integrated life in their community is they need a human being, right? If they're receiving support services, it usually means that they need a human being to help them get out and about, to do all the great things like go to work and go to the movies and go to the museum and go volunteer and do all these great things that are meaningful in their lives. They need a human being to help them do it. So what it boils down to is that whether you're using individual supports, or you're using community-based supports, or you're using any respite, the whole concept is that you need this human being. So no matter which one you do, it's one of the linchpins, one of the most essential parts of leading a self-directed life and being integrated into your community, is to have that human being. So as we all know, because I've seen that according to our ratio, that there's lots of parents out there, lots of individuals who are working through this system, you also know that while it's the most important service, it's also the hardest one to get right. So I'd like you to think about it as a relationship. And I don't know about all of you, but I did not make some of the best choices with some of my relationships earlier on in my life. So whether it be a friendship or be, a meaningful romantic partner, I didn't always make the best decisions the first time around. That happens with support staff, as you well know, is that it may take multiple times to kind of get it right. It's because it's so important and because it's a relationship. This is not just I go to my cubby and I clock in and I do my paperwork and I go home. This is a relationship with a human being. So yes, it is difficult to find the right person. It is difficult to help identify the right person, and it's difficult to keep the right person. So I want to say that we all recognize and understand that. And the reason it's so hard is because it's so very important. So let's talk about some solutions. Let's talk about some solutions and some strategies to try to make this work. Next one, Marion, please. Finding the right supports. So again, I want to pull it back to let's start at the beginning. So we start with the person. If we think about what someone likes, what someone doesn't like, what some of their preferences are. And I mean, go all the way back to like, I'd rather hang out with a guy than with a woman. All the way back to, I am not a morning person. Do not make somebody show up before 11 a.m. I love baseball. And if you can't talk baseball with me, this is not a good relationship. As you can tell, I am an outgoing and bubbly and talkative kind of person. I can get loud. I am Italian, so my hands are going. If that type of person just scrapes your nerves and you're like, please make her stop talking, I am not the staff for you. So I'd like you to start at the very beginning and start thinking about what type of human being is the one that's going to work well for you. This is what works well. I need him to be able to do this. I need him to want to go here and do things with me and not be kind of grumpy that they're doing lots of driving because I've got lots of sports that I do. I need somebody that's going to work well with that for me. Having a clear idea of the person that works for you before either interviewing a staff or having a conversation with a company about finding you support staff is one strategy that can help get it right. Another one is thinking about where are you going to find them, right? That's kind of the big question is, where do I find the staff? And so what I've learned over the few years that I've been a support coordinator is all you have to do is ask. So I've had some situations where some families have found some really great staff by doing some creative things. One of them is get out and about, right? So my one gentleman that I support, he loves wandering Home Depot. Like this is his thing. He goes with his staff and he goes and he wanders Home Depot and he just likes to look and see what's around in Home Depot. So they have their favorite Home Depot. My husband's a contractor. There's a favorite Home Depot. So they went to the favorite Home Depot and he wanders around. And so he goes on, multiple times a week. And so he gets to know the workers there. And so one of the workers kept saying like, hey, buddy, fist pound, how you doing? It's good to see you. You're looking good today. And they kept bumping into this same worker. So what did this mom do? She went to the worker and said, you know what? We like you. You've got a great attitude. Do you have any extra time? Would you consider working with my son? He's like, no, you know what? I don't. I'm sorry. My schedule's full. But my friend this would be perfect. He would be great. Thank you for asking. So she's literally found a full-time staff because all she did was ask. So there's other places that you can go and find staff, right? And they're all out and about. So I found my new hairdresser because I asked on Facebook. Yeah, I'm one of those older people that uses Facebook. But I put on Facebook, hey, do you have a good hairdresser you'd like? Because I asked, I found a good hairdresser. If you ask, you can maybe find a good staff. And some other things that are some possible good ideas is write it down. Because some people have said to me like, well, what am I going to tell them? if you think about it in advance and say, I'm looking for a person who wants to go and do baseball and wants to drive around and wants to do this stuff, you can do a 1-page sort of scenario. I'm looking for somebody who can do this. And then you can hand it to somebody. Hey, give this to your friend and see what he thinks about. Here's some of the things I need my staff to do in a person-centered way, and let them know what the job is going to be like, because this is not a regular job description, right? It's different for every human being. Another strategy that one of my families has used is they created a little postcard. And again, it's something that they can hand out to people, and it's a postcard with a picture of her son and some ideas on the back of, hey, I'm looking for somebody who can do this. Here's my contact information. So it's some ways to kind of reach out and to find human beings that are outside of the normal realm, right? Ask in the places that you go. So your hairdresser or the library, you can even post at your local community college, because they've already got a car because they're driving to school. So it's somebody who could be looking for a part-time job and do things like that. Okay, let's do the next slide. All right, let's pretend you found somebody. We found the right person. They are high quality staff. You really like them. There are ways to make your staff feel like part of the team. So you want to encourage them to work together. You can have team meetings. You can have, they cover each other. So you immediately sit down and we talk about coverage situation. Hey, I want you to call each other to try to find coverage when you can't cover a shift, and then give me a call and we'll work it out. Having clear ground rules and expectations can solve some of those problems that happens. So I have families who call me like, you know what, they're always on their cell phone. They come in and they're just sort of texting as they're sitting. Yeah, they're watching TV with so-and-so. They're watching their favorite show, but they're sitting there on their phone. And I said, well, did you tell them when you hired them not to do that? And I'm like, well, they should know that. They're at work. This is not, as I said, not your typical work scenario, right? They're going into somebody's home. If it's important to you for people to take their shoes off at the door, tell them, hey, can you please take your shoes off at the door, right? If it's important to you to say, you know what, my son, I need you to watch him, man. I need you to watch him, because if his face gets pale, it means something's wrong. So I need you not on your phone. I need you really kind of watching him. He has seizures. I need you to catch it early when he does this certain motion. If you're not looking at him, you're not going to catch the motion, and you're not going to know that he's having a seizure. Clear ground rules. This is important in my home. Clear expectations of what they're wanting to do. And honestly, write down a job description that works for you and your family. Have them sign it. Have it stuck up on your fridge. This is what I'm expecting you to do as someone who is a staff for my son or daughter, or for myself. If it's clear, then you can bring them back to it. Hey, so I told you when you got hired that I need you to not blare the music while you're driving with my son. He's telling me that his ears hurt. He's got a headache because the music was really loud in the car. Here on the job description, here are my expectations. Can you please remember that, right? You have something to bring them back to and say, we did talk about this. And honestly, I know it's hard to let staff go when they're willing to show up, but if they're causing disharmony in your home, it really may not be worth it. And that's a really hard decision. They come and they show up, but they're causing chaos and stress in my home. Which one, and make a balanced decision on which one is more important to you. Provide set training. I'm not kidding. Take them to the bathroom. Show them how you want them to brush your son's teeth. Show them this is how we put our dishes away. Do it with my son. I want you to teach him to do it this way. Again, by preventing some of that confusion in the beginning. Well, I didn't know that. Okay, please don't do that. But so you start the habits right? You're starting them off with really good habits on how to work with your loved one or with yourself. Encourage questions. I don't know anybody, again, I don't know about you, but when I've started my first day, a couple days on the job, I have a lot of questions. How do I do that? How do you want that to be? If you open and leave it as, hey, I expect you to ask questions. Please let me know. This is important to us. I want to make sure we're doing this well and we're working well and communicating well. Those team meetings, again, can be good times to say, hey, I'm noticing across the board, this one exercise is not getting done. So can you please, I'm reminding everybody, not calling anyone out, reminding everybody at this team meeting, hey, the exercise half an hour twice a week, that's really important. I'm noticing it's not getting done. I need you all to make sure it gets done. Keep it open communications. Do you have any questions? Anyone have any questions on what the exercise could look like? And then you start up a dialogue. If people are afraid to ask questions, they're just going to do it their way and they're going to hide if they did it wrong. It does not build that relationship, that trust factor that will, one, make them want to come back because they feel like they're valued and that their questions are respected, and they don't feel like they're going to get in trouble if they don't do it right, because you have this open communication. Again, part of the Charting the Life course lets you do that really great breakdown and what's super important to you. I'm seeing some great thoughts about texting them of what expected that day. That's great. Having a set schedule. I've told my families, put one of those big calendars up. I know, old school, paper, pen. It does actually work. They come in, and they look at the calendar and you've trained them. Hey, when you first come in, take your shoes off at the door, say hi to Joey, and then go look at the calendar and see what you need to do that day. Setting up the habits right. Next, please. All right, Colleen said you had some really great seminars on meetings about support brokerage. So we're going to do this a little bit, but we talk about community mapping, which is a nice fancy technical way to say get out in your community and go find the good stuff that makes sense for you to go to, that you're interested in. So campusing your local community to find the fun stuff that you want to do. Working on circles of support, again, is the nice technical way to say finding the human beings in your life that help you do all the great stuff. I have 3 males in my house. Thank God for the dog who is female, but I have my husband and 2 sons. Nobody wanted to go to the good movies with me. So I used my circle of support to find my female, movie buddy who wanted to go see Downton Abbey with me, because no one else in my household wanted to do it with me. That's part of my circle of support, right? It doesn't have to be this huge thing. It's just the person that goes to the gym with you. They're going to the same gym. They're going to that's your workout buddy. That's part of your circle of support. Your support broker can help you to think about and try to find those people in your life, which make life just a little bit richer and just a little bit better. And again, do those great deep conversations on what sort of supports you need. Next slide. And then your support coordinator is the one that puts all those great pieces together, right? Maybe your support coordinator is doing some of that work because we're still developing the support brokerage service, but they are there to make sure all what services you need are done. Make sure you've thought about other resources and tried to help you put them in place. Help ask those really deep questions that help you to sort of guided conversations to discover what it is that really works for you and how you want to do it and the type of human beings you want to be with. We do the wonderful, fun part of navigating the computer system, which the iRecord works really quite well, especially in comparison to the eRecord. And we manage the money that you can get from the state to make sure you are staying within budget, and talking about strategies on, hey, you wanted to do this later on. Let's make sure we set money aside so that you're able to add that job coach later on, or add those horseback riding lessons when we find it. Let's make sure we save the money aside so that it's available when you want to do it. And all that sort of wonderful, fun stuff, and how much you can pay your self-directed employee, and all those sorts of great details. Next one. All right, we are going to do a bit of a fun thing, because the last thing you want to do is sit there and listen to me keep talking. So we are going to do a brainstorming activity, and we're going to ask these 3 questions. And what we're going to do, like Colleen mentioned before, is I'm going to ask you to raise your hand when you have an answer, or type it in the chat box. So whichever way works best for you. And the CLEP team is going to take it and put it on this really cool thing called Jamboard, which is this really cool kind of board that's going to put little stickies up. So what do we think? Marion should probably stop sharing so Colleen can put the Jamboard up?
Exactly. If you can stop sharing, I will go ahead and share the Jamboard. And just as a reminder, folks, you can raise your hand by clicking that reactions button down at the bottom, or you can use the chat box and we'll capture your comments here. So let me open this up. And hopefully you all are seeing the first question.
Yes. So what I want you guys to do is think about yourself or think about your family member or loved one and think about what characteristics make up a quality support staff for you. What's the most important quality that would just make it right, make the person be a really good match for yourself or your loved one?
All right, I see consistency. Natalie, I see your hand raised, so let me just unmute you so we can hear from you as well. Whoops. Sorry, I think there you go. Sorry, Natalie.
That's okay. So for Marie, it would have to be definitely a female. She'd have to be between the ages of 25 and 40, someone, her age or a little bit younger. Also someone that is soft-spoken and that would take her shopping because she loves to shop.
Thank you, Natalie.
These are some really great ones. Good. Not falling asleep or too tired. Well, yes, that's probably not the staff for you, nor should that staff probably have taken that second or third job, unfortunately, although the reality of life is people do multiple jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Sense of humor, I think that's a great one, because if you can't have fun and laugh at just about anything, then why not? Having respect. Yeah, that's huge, right? And that looks different for lots of different people, right? Someone being respectful can be just making sure you look them in the eyes and say hi, and ask them how their day was, even if you know they don't use words to communicate and can't say anything back, making sure to do it.
A good listener.
Yes, Anthony, please.
A good listener.
Oh, good listener.
Got it.
And really hearing, not just listening, right? Kind of hearing the reasons why.
Yeah.
Or respecting and knowing that that's really important.
Knows how to follow directions.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Flexibility, that's a big one, right? Because sometimes I have a young lady I support, she's not leaving her house today. She hates the rain, so she is not leaving her house today. So if she's got her staff with her, they better figure out something to do at home because today is not a good day for her. And knowing that and going in it being flexible and saying, okay, guess we're shifting to these activities today.
I think it's important too, and these are absolutely wonderful. Hopefully this is helpful to folks. I'm getting some really good ideas for some of the people we work for. Characteristics oftentimes are things that you can't teach, right? So when you're thinking about who would be the ideal person to support me, yeah, these are things that wouldn't necessarily be changed through training, which is also why we look at skills, because skills are things that can be taught. But historically in this field, oftentimes we have relied on people's experiences, right? So what is your skill set in supporting somebody with a disability? And one of the things that I've learned is, one person with a disability, one person with a disability. So even for folks who rely on physical assistance for their personal care, when you ask them specifically or ask their family members about the specifics of that care, oftentimes there could be 10 people who rely on the use of a Hoyer lift to get in and out of bed. But if you give each of those 10 people an opportunity to teach you the skill sets that they want you to learn to be able to use that Hoyer lift when supporting them, you're going to get 10 different ways of using that Hoyer lift, all of course safely. So this is a really important thing to think about. This is something your supports broker can help you to do as you're thinking about recruiting staff. And these are just amazing, amazing ideas. So thanks everybody for sharing.
Excellent. Amy, should we go to the next?
Yeah, let's go to the next
Okay.
one. So that's some really great qualities. Thank you. Really, really great qualities and things you can ask specific questions for, right? And when you're doing your interviewing and when you're talking to maybe a provider or they're trying to find you staff. But I talked about training, right? And I talked about training on purpose because, again, even though somebody has experience doesn't mean, and Marion's point is perfect, doesn't mean that they're going to do it the way that works for you. So if you need somebody to kind of quietly help me slide my shirt on versus somebody who's going to make a big deal and make it fun, that's two completely different ways that could do it. And my experience might be one, but you need it a different way because that's going to make you laugh and be like, fine, I'll put my shirt on, because that's what you need to be able to get dressed in the morning. And that's what staff's doing that day. So I want you to again think about yourself and your loved ones and what is most important thing that you wanted to train your staff on. What's most important that they need to be able to have knowledge about, very specific, that works for you or your loved one? What do they need to know? And again,
Amy,
raise your hand or do the chat.
yeah, Amy, there was one that came in for the characteristics about knowing how to cook. And this could also be one.
Yeah.
Too. Like maybe a
Yeah.
characteristic is somebody who enjoys cooking, but you can also then teach the person, this is how you need to prepare, my meals, or help me prepare my own meals. So the overlap's really important.
Yeah, exactly. And this
Yes.
one's great. Thank you, Marion. Motivation.
Yeah.
Motivation is key, right? If it's so my young lady who is absolutely not having a good day today because it's raining and she's been stressing about the fact that she knew it was going to rain, how do you motivate her to kind of get out of that like downward spiral, because that her day will be better because she's been able to get redirected, to be thinking about something other than the fact that it's raining and she hates it, right? How to clean. My goodness, yes, something about like my husband will not clean bathrooms. We will leave that there. So applied behavioral analysis, yes, they have some really great strategies on how to teach certain things. Okay, Alice, I'll get to your questions in a little bit. Oh, and Margaret doesn't agree about ABA. That's okay. So, because if you've learned how to work with one person, you've learned how to work with one person. One person it works great with, one person who doesn't. Going food shopping. Score. Thanks, Barbara. Yeah, that's a real skill, right? Is there other things that maybe some self-care, maybe on how to brush his teeth, right? That self-care. How to
take a shower, maybe.
Take a shower, right? Because we all like, maybe I don't like showers, maybe I like baths. I was doing a training for some staff, and we were in a group home, and we were talking about person-centered planning, and the staff said, oh, well, he's refusing to shower. I don't know what to do. Staff's like, I don't know what to do. I offer to shower. He fusses. He won't take a shower. So the manager comes in the next morning and guy just takes a shower. And it's like, wait a minute. Did we forget to ask when you wanted to shower? So apparently we forgot to do that. Healthy eating. Yeah, really important. How about that exercising, right? So exercising could be a walk down the block. It could be going to the gym and walking on a treadmill, and it could be running, and it could be lifting weights, and it could be doing Zumba on your screen, right? It could be in your apartment doing a Zumba class. So that could look really, really different. Concern, yeah. It says, I'm seeing it's receive some physical care training. Yeah, and I think again, because people are so different, right? If you have somebody who experiences cerebral palsy and their arms are really stiff, your training might be that you kind of massage their arms to be able to get the shirt or jacket on, versus somebody else who you're just shaking like, come on, let's go, and kind of souping around their arms. So it could look very, very different for one person for the other. But yeah, there's some general ideas, and that's why it's all personalized. This could be cooking.
Yeah, I was going to add for the specifics like mental health training. And again, this is one of the things the supports broker can help with, is finding those resources for the staff, for the team, maybe some even online components. When we talk later about the interactive map, there will be a learning component built right into the map for the DSPs and the SDs. I'm sorry, I don't want to use acronyms, direct support professionals and self-directed employees, to be able to access training and learning opportunities right on the map. So that's a great question about how do you find and be able to use specific training resources for your staff.
And I see a hand raised for AJ. Just 1 second. I wanted to toss out the idea of training. Someone put it in the chat, and it's really, really great. What about for let's call them behaviors or communicating through behaviors? Somebody's having a rough day and is doing some behaviors that is not socially acceptable. What do you do? Right? How are you supposed to respond in the way that works best for that human being? Because again, the way you respond to one person versus another, what do you do if they're sad that day? How are you supposed to talk to them when they're sad that day, or moody, or just don't feel 100%, or they're overly excited and happy? How about some of that sort of stuff? AJ.
Got it. AJ, I think I just asked you to unmute. I think you can do it.
Yes, I can.
There you go. Thanks, AJ.
Yeah. I'm going to repeat myself from before and just say consistency again, because a lot of the population that we serve, routine is so important. And just having like a consistent routine, making sure that the staff understands that they need to be consistent every day doing the same thing. It's important.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we train at my agency. So.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, for anyone who might have sort of behavior support plan and things like that, consistency is absolutely key. But even it's just someone who happens to be on the spectrum, routine is often really, really comforting. And the ability to be able to predict and know what's going to happen that day. It's why, again, that sort of chart of activities. Hey, it's Tuesday. The person themselves can say, oh, today, look, today we're going to go do this because it's Wednesday. And on Wednesdays, we go to the coffee shop first, and then we go volunteer. So today's Wednesday, so here it is on our calendar. And again, having that, just that comfort. If that's what you need, then the staff should be trained on. That's the routine that we should do for us. And if it's consistent, it reduces some of the anxiety that could produce some behaviors that people struggle with.
The beauty of self-direction, though, and there's many beautiful aspects to it, as we know, is that the training and the learning can really be tailored to the person, because there's plenty of people who routine creates boredom, and then that leads to frustration. Mm-hmm. So part of customizing and tailoring the services and supports to meet your preferences means that people can develop their own training plans for their staff. And so again, another benefit of taking control of your services. So Amy, I'm thinking we could go on all day.
I know, so let's go to the next one. But yeah, these are some great, and thank you for brainstorming with this. We're going to do one more.
Yeah,
because I said, what I didn't say was go call agencies to find staff, right? What I said was go to where places that you go to. What are people or locations? And it's all about the people, right? It's maybe not about your friend, but it's your friend's daughter or something along those lines. So think about the human beings in your life. And I want you to try to think about maybe someone you haven't tapped already, or someone you haven't spoken to about being a support staff, or seeing if you have a person that could be a support staff. So let's do one more brainstorm, again, either by raising your hand or type in the chat box. What other people or locations do you think it would be good to go to find new staff that you haven't tried before? This is the hard one, huh?
Yeah, I see places of worship was just added in.
Places of worship is great. And again, that's a community of people that, again, you can maybe identify and feel close to because you have some similar thoughts and things like that. Natalie, see your hand raised. Oh, Colleen's got to hook you up.
Sorry, Nat, I think I did it. There you go. Okay, no.
So just, through experience over the years, Marie's volunteered many places, and that's where we found some staff. That's also where she's found some employment.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's great. I usually tell the story when I'm doing training for new staff. I said, if Joey goes to the coffee shop every Wednesday, then Joey becomes not that guy, that guy who can't talk, becomes that's Joey. Oh, no, I got him. Give Joey a second. He's got it. He knows what he wants. Go ahead, Joey. You tell me what you want. And then you see Joey and there's the we need staff sign or we need help wanted signs. And it's like, because then it's Joey and his staff Amy, not just that guy that comes in once in a while and gets coffee who doesn't talk. So now they know Joey and they know Amy, his staff, right? So now that they know Joey, well, look, Joey, they need somebody to kind of clean that or to do that one step of the process. Joey's like, I want to do that. And now but they know Joey. So it could then turn into a place for employment, or it's the barista you get every day who thinks Joey is great and is, no, give him a minute. Joey's got this. Come on, buddy, you can do it. And is very encouraging and kind. You're like, do you have any extra time? Would you like to work with Joey part-time? You've got a really great way with him. And so you found him because you went out and you got coffee every Wednesday. So getting out and about. Facebook and social media is great. Places of worship, places where we volunteer, support brokers, absolutely. That is the main function with support brokers for sure. Colleges are great. And I always say community colleges, because then I said people are already driving there. And they're probably going, there's high likelihood they're going part-time, which means they have time throughout their schedule, maybe in that odd, look, I need like Wednesdays and Friday mornings available. Well, they might not have classes then. And so that could be a really great place. They have e-boards that you can go and you can post for a job on the e-boards at community colleges. So they're actually kind of cool. It's actually how I started. I started because a mom went to and spoke to one of my college professors and she announced it in my class. So you never know where you can kind of get started and do. What about libraries? Believe it or not, people still go and check out those community boards on libraries. Again, it could be an e-board, or it could be one where you very old-fashioned traditionally take the little phone number tear off of something. Great, developments, hospitals, food banks. Yeah, honestly, any place where you volunteer, volunteers are usually there part-time and might have some available time. School
Amy,
PTA
can you
is great.
clarify what e-boards are? Just that question arose.
Yeah, so electronic board, it's just a way, it almost looks like this, but you can put kind of a job posting on an electronic board. Each college does it a little bit differently. So you'd need to kind of contact the community college or whatever college that might be near you to see how to get access to it. And I'm sure there's a form, because that's how we do things, right? I'm sure there's something you need to sign and do and state. But yeah, it's a way that you can kind of go and put a posting up where then college students have access to that board. If they're looking for part-time work, they could go to this sort of career. I would use their career counseling departments. Could kind of go to the board from their career counselor and see what's there.
Amy, can I just add on to that one other source when you're thinking about community colleges? Many of the community colleges have a degree in human services, right? Or some of them have social work degrees, and that might poke around on Middlesex County College or wherever and just see who you see. It might be a job posting you can share with a professor, with a coordinator of the program, or because those students will have that natural interest already. So
absolutely,
nursing students, right?
Yeah, it's also where the supports broker can be really, really helpful in terms of developing and helping you create and sustain a circle of support. And again, for some people, it may only be a few people, but from those few people, the networks that potentially are there that could connect. I mean, Amy, the story about the worker in the Home Depot is an amazing one, but oftentimes we put a lot of this responsibility on the family members to do it, and that's great if people are able and willing to do it. But if mom's an introvert and would never be able to ask that kind of question, it's a good way to think about using the supports brokerage service, because this is something that definitely the broker can help with. So this is great.
Yes,
stuff.
no, these are great. Grocery stores, yes, I'm one of those people that stands online and talks to every human being that's just standing there because you're waiting for the cashier. But if you're not that kind of person, then that's when I mentioned that kind of either that little postcard that you could hand somebody and say, hey, you know what, I just, just in case, can you put this out, or if you're looking for more work. And again, it's something you can post up if you need it, literally stick it on a board. Grocery stores are great, but so is your hairdresser. I don't know about you again, but I'm a chatty person. I chat up my hairdresser all the time. It might not be my hairdresser, but it might be my hairdresser's niece who's looking for work, right? You kind of never know who could do it. And I said, school PTA is a great idea too. Friends of Friends is great. Yeah, these are great.
The other thing to mention, and maybe Colleen, you may beat me to this as well, but Open Future Learning has a lot of very quick, easy, accessible videos, and Beth Mount is featured in many of them, and some of the stuff that very short to the point, but she talks about some of this stuff. You know, what we call community mapping is like, hey, you know, the person and their staff go out and about and just start, you know, looking at places. She encourages people to take their camera. That's how you can tell how dated the video is. She doesn't say take your smartphone. But these days it's even easier. Anyway, so there's so many things that really can happen. And again, you know, you think I'm selling the supports broker service. Well, I kind of am, because it's really a necessary component of the self-directed system. And it's one that the division has really been building up. You know, all of these things are really good to help the person and their family oftentimes not feel so burdened that it's all falling on them to do. This is great exercise.
Yeah,
great.
thank you for that. I appreciate
An
everyone
awesome facilitator.
playing along with us a little bit and kind of
Yeah.
getting out of the rut of listening to it.
All
So
right,
thank
I
you
will
so much
stop
for that.
sharing here, and we will share these with everyone who's on the call, and actually anyone who's registered. When we send out the recording link, I'll send the file of the responses as well. So Marion, I'm going to stop sharing, and you
Okay.
can pull your slides up again.
All right. I may have to catch up a bit, so just
No worries.
me a minute, but this was great. And now we'll talk about a tool that your support coordinator can help you to find, and your sports broker can help you to use. A little bit about the interactive map. And I don't think I really emphasized enough in the introduction to the collaborative that the collaborative is made up, with the exception of Anthony and our map facilitator, who also works at Gold Medal. We're all volunteers. So I really, every opportunity I get to applaud the collaborative board and the member agencies who are doing this heavy lifting. I just want to make people aware of that. Like, there's nobody on this full time, although that's the aspiration. And I'll talk a little bit about the plans that we have in place to make this better continually and also to expand it. But the idea for this came about when the pandemic hit. And I know none of us like to go back there, but for us, it was a really critical time, because all of our interactions with members and potential members were happening in person. And when the pandemic hit and we heard from people and we saw across the system, you know, programs closing, family members wanting to take their family members home out of safety. And people were like, what are we going to do? You know, family members becoming very quickly overwhelmed, and people with disabilities, many of whom struggled with not being able to return to their routines and not really understanding. And of course, just the overall anxiety of a global pandemic that we didn't know anything about. So again, our members came together and said, what can we do in this time and space? And one of the members, Gold Medal, you know, was like, well, you know, we use Google to like help employees find people that we're serving, and we use it as a staffing tool. And we said, that sounds like maybe an idea that we could build on. So we started to come together and put some of that, like the concepts together, like, well, okay, Google's out there in the public domain. Maybe we could do something with that. And we would want a facilitator. We would want somebody with lived experience. We were very fortunate to find Anthony. And we need IT expertise. And we were lucky to find an IT specialist who was willing to work for nothing, essentially to volunteer. And we wrote to the New Jersey Council on Developmental Disabilities for one of their community innovations grant. And thanks to the wonderful people there who believed in what was just an idea at the time, they seeded it, and we were able to pay our subcontractors to do some of this work. So that's where the idea was born. And through that, through the process of working through the the Council on Developmental Disabilities grant, we became aware of an opportunity through the Administration on Community Living, which is the national organization that funds the DD councils in each state, and also is constantly looking again for innovation and best practices in the field. And they were running what they termed as the Blazing New Trails. And this was for community-based direct support professionals prize challenge. And we said, let's go for it. We have an idea. We had a couple people using it. We thought, let's try this. So we were the only organization out of about 30 across the country who were completely, again, volunteer. We were up against national organizations with, you know, hierarchies and tons of paid staff and plenty of experience doing this. But we entered it with like, hey, if we can do this and we can get some money pulled into the collaborative and we can make this tool better and help it to reach more people, let's go for it. So it was a 3-round contest, if you will. It was not a grant. So we saw a lot of like the universities kind of back away from it, you know, because this was essentially like, if you do this, we're gonna send you a check if you win. And we were like, okay, we can do that, because we're also incorporated as a 501c3 nonprofit organization. So it wasn't like any of us were taking it in, the organization would take it in. But there ended up being about 26 organizations that entered into the first round of the contest, which was, tell us your innovative idea. And it was really all around, how do we attract people to the direct support professional field? How do we help the direct support professional learn and grow and stay? And as a result, how do we help the churn of the turnover across the country in this position? So we were one of 5 organizations that came through that first round, and we were thrilled, and we got 20 grand for the idea. And we were like, woohoo, we're good. This will continue to see this idea. We entered into round 2. Round 2 was essentially like, okay, we like your idea. Now do some small scale feasibility testing, meaning, can your idea work even with a couple people? And we were like, oh, wow, maybe there is something to what we're doing here, because we know it works even for a couple people, and we know it's not perfect, but we're going to build in a continuous quality improvement cycle so that we get information from people who are using it, so we can just strive to make it better. And it's not going to be perfect, and it's not going to be the be all end all, but maybe we're onto something here. Well, guess what? We won round 2, and we were like, what? We can't even believe this. So now it's down to 3 organizations. And again, we're still the only one that's volunteer, with the exception, of course, of our self-advocate advisor, Anthony, and Marina, who does our MAP facilitation. But we were, like, again, up against these other 2. So the 3rd round was basically like, okay, we liked your idea. You've shown us that it can work even in a small way. Now you've got to create a plan that convinces us that you can expand this and sustain it. Okay, well, let's go for it. So we worked on an implementation plan, a 3-year implementation plan, obviously that included using some of the money from the contest, but let's do this. And I won't bore you with the contents of the implementation plan, but we're happy to share it with whoever would like to discuss it and learn about it. And we won, and we couldn't believe we won, but we won. And so it's with great pride that we show this logo here. And that really, since the awarding of that prize in late 2021, because of course a lot of what was happening was delayed due to the pandemic. And we did many presentations that had to be, you know, online and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, since that time, we have been working, again, behind the scenes to not only keep the map going and improve it, but also to work on this implementation plan, which in the first phase of it has included a lot of legal things, like, you know, is this intellectual property? Can we own it? What are the Google terms of service? So a lot of like the nitty gritty that we also don't want to bore everybody with. But there's people, again, volunteers who are working very diligently behind the scenes now to lay the foundation and the groundwork to continue to make this better and better. So I won't continue to bore you with that, but we wanted to give you kind of the backgrounds of how the map came about and the fact that we are very honored and to represent New Jersey as the grand prize winner of a national prize challenge. But Anthony is going to take us through the rest of the slides and show you the map. And Anthony, Amy, and I are here should you need us. I will advance to the next slide.
All right. Well, this map makes life a lot easier for somebody like myself. Like I've used it, I've seen how it works, and it's because a lot of times you have to wait a long time for like different agencies and things like that to help you find someone. But this is a lot easier. And everything is right there in front of you. So
Yeah, and I said it's great as a support coordinator. I've been able to kind of pop on and look at it. I've offered it to families, offered it to self-advocates, and they're able to kind of put information on and find out exactly what it is they're looking for, because we were mindful of that. And we've got some questions in the chat saying like, hey, show the map already. So let's get there.
We're on it. We're on it. One of the things we did want to say about the map is that it can be used basically by anybody who wants to use it. Initially, it was very heavy with agencies. No surprise there. We're coming out of a pandemic and there's heavy staffing vacancies and turnover and all those kinds of things. But we are focusing more now than ever on the self-directed employee component, because that's the feedback we've gotten from folks. So know that we're listening and we're going to be on it.
All right.
Yep. Anthony talked a bit about some of the benefits. One is that we really, especially during the course of the pandemic, we realized that local support was really important. So are there people in your neighborhood who maybe were becoming unemployed or underemployed? And as a result of this map, you guys could find each other and you could get the support you needed or your family member needed, and people could stay employed as direct support professionals or self-directed employees, or perhaps there were people from outside of the field where this provided an opportunity. Amy, was there anything you wanted to?
Yeah, and so if you notice, we purposely put some details in there that made sense. So nothing is worse than finding a great person. They wind up living 45 minutes away. And oh, by the way, after all that, they're not available on Saturdays, which is when you actually needed them to be there. So we made sure to add those details in to kind of, I don't know, to pave the way to make it already kind of a good match. So if you notice, there's the person that they need to speak to, so you can immediately click on an email about that person and that reference number. It immediately creates an email for you, so you didn't have to remember all the numbers. And that's about the reference number is about a specific human being. They live in Newton, New Jersey, and it's a guy who is already 35 and he's got 35 hours available. So you already know some information about just how, like, maybe their schedule. There's also another one, it's not on this one, but we'll open up one to show you. You can put some extra comments so that person can say, like, I noticed somebody said, hey, I want somebody who's experienced with working with somebody who has seizures. So you could put in there, hey, I've done extensive additional training on working with people with seizures, or experienced in working with people who have some behavioral concerns. Because as we well know, those people with some of the most difficult challenges, either with physical care or with some medical or some behavioral concerns, you want to know that somebody's either got some experience or is comfortable doing some of that stuff.
Yeah, and Amy, to add to that, one of the things that we're doing to expand the quality of the map, if you will, is that we are going to create direct support professional profiles where you'll be able to see a picture of the person. You'll be able to learn more about their characteristics, maybe some of the things they're interested in doing. If they've got certification, you know, they're CPR certified, they're trained in medication administration, you know, so it'll make it easier all the while. You know, one of the main things is we want to protect your privacy, your family's privacy. So, you know, with the direct support professional profile, you know, we'll have a terms of service for them about what they're willing to disclose about themselves, but it should make it easier, and we want to make it as accessible as possible for people to be able to use this tool to really even start to screen out people that, no, I don't know, she lives near me, but we don't have anything in common, so I'm not really going to call her, but maybe I'll keep her down on the list. And in the event that I can't find the perfect match, if it's somebody that can help me get through the day until I can find a better match, then I know that she's available. So that's been an ongoing concern, though, just so you know. None of your information, as you can see here, is listed. And the map is not meant to replace any other part of the system. So we're not doing background checks. We're not doing interviews. This is simply a facilitated process for people to be able to find one another.
And for self-advocates, it's free.
Thank you.
Yeah, I saw that
Comment,
question.
Anthony. Yep, it's free. It's free. And for self-directed employees, it's free. And we're working with organizations that are currently using it because, again, we want to make sure that we're in line with all of the rules and regulations and laws around this. So we're doing a lot of work with a legal team who also is working pro bono right now. So again, looking for support, Amy. Sometimes all you got to do is ask. And
All you got to do is ask, right?
There's great people in this world who are helping out, and we hope to keep them on and start paying them. So yeah, so you can see there's more benefits. Anthony, you talked about this. I don't know if there's anything else you want to say about this. Trying to keep an eye on time too, so we allow for any questions that are coming in.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I'm glad that, you know, this is around, because it makes people like myself, our lives more easier to find somebody that is in our area. And
yeah, as we show,
as much.
We're gonna show the actual map so you can kind of see how it
Yep,
works.
let's do.
Okay, this is just real quickly for support coordinators and brokers on the line who may not know this. And again, I think Colleen is making this slide deck available, and we're happy to answer any specific questions offline or work with you to better understand it. But this is a tool for all of you too, to be able to help people who clearly lots of people are needing help, but there's also lots of people, even though the jobs market's getting better, there's lots of people who are looking for work. So this field has a real opportunity to start to attract really, really good people into this space.
Amy, as you go on to the map in a minute, I just want to raise one comment that was raised is, would it be possible to include languages and fluencies of the workers? So for someone who needs someone who's fluent in ASL or Spanish speaking or French speaking or German, whatever it may be, but
great question.
Languages spoken is a nice addition.
Yep, absolutely. So Amy, I'm going to kind of fly by this, then stop my share so you can do an actual demonstration, because you'll talk about the different icons. And again, we're working on this too. The IT professional has some really good ideas about how to not make it look like this, which is really crowded. All right, I'm going to stop sharing, Amy, and then.
Right. And while you're doing that switch, Marianne, can you just reiterate a question about whether they are already fingerprinted or background checked? I know you referenced that you're not doing that, but can you clarify that for the group?
They may or may not be, but our role is not to ensure any of those things. That would again be if you're choosing an agency. the responsibility for that is on the agency who's hiring. If you're using an SDE and you're using either of the FIs, you would work through the same process that you work through even when you're not using the map. So this again is a facilitated process and a facilitated tool to help you find people.
To just
help
make
you-
the connection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then one of the things we are going to do, as I said earlier, is we're building out a learning component that's going to be completely online so that the DSP or the SDE, once hired, can then continue to use it for learning, growth, side-by-side learning with the person they're working for. We're going to make it really accessible. So anyway, but I hope that answered the question for now.
Thank you.
All right, so if you can see, I went to New Jersey Interactive Map, which is at the top line of the Collaborative's website. And then you can make this full size. Come on, you know you really wanna? All right then. And then you just do these little plus and minuses here. We can make it, you can zoom right into your actual town. As Marion said, there's a couple of different, I'm trying to make my screen a little bit bigger. Here we go. A couple of different icons. So if it's a little person walking, that's an SDE or self-directed employee, which is that one-on-one human being that you could hire. Each one of these little hands holding a heart icons, each different color is a different agency. So that would be your direct support professional, where you'd be hiring the company to provide the person for you through the agency. And so that's how that budget would work. But if we wanted to click on an SDE, it's supposed to open on the left. So I probably did. Sorry, I'm zoomed in so you can see the icons. So I'm going to do that. And like we mentioned before, this person's name is Austin, has their phone number. It's a guy. He's worked 5 years as a direct support professional already. Looking to work into Middlesex, is available after 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. He's got CPR already, able to drive the person using their own vehicle, and has had already been fingerprinted, which is answering that question we had before. So again, like Marion said, we're going to be expanding this a little bit more because we talked about that relationship and how important that is to find not only a good human being, but the right human being for you. Is if you've got those great characteristics that match, we're going to be able to expand this and give you a little bit more. But you would go and you would then go and call that person, say, hey, I found your information on the interactive map. Wanted to see, I'm looking for somebody, would you like an, and starting doing the interview. If you were looking more into say DSP, because that works for you. So working through an agency is what works better for you. Right now, we've got the reference number here and it's through, it's yellow. So that's Gold Medal Home Health is advertising a woman who lives in Boundbrook, and they're asking you to contact them to get some more information about that person. One more icon I want to bring to your attention is this plus sign, help, this little help me sign. This is a family that is advertising there for a staff. And so I don't want, so if this is also being used for direct support professionals or for self-directed employees, so all those great human beings who are staff, to go find it. So if it's an SDE or a self-directed employee who's looking for more hours and they live near Flemington, they could go click on this email address. Again, it would bring up an email right with that reference number directly to that person. And she's looking for somebody, a guy about 45 years old. She's looking for 8 hours a week, 2 days. So maybe 2 shifts of 4 hours a week. So if that works for them, they could click on that and immediately send an email to that family and say, hey, I'm a guy, I'm about 50 years old and I've got some experience and some interests. What are you looking for? I can start up that conversation.
The other thing too, Amy, to add to that is that this could be somebody's supports broker who gets the emails and starts that screening process. The other thing that I wanted to note, we've gotten really good feedback about this, and I just want to say this too. We're fine with the like atta girls, great job, but that doesn't really help us to make it better. So we don't want people to not say like, I'm really frustrated with this, or this doesn't seem to be working for me. Like that's the only way we make it better is when we hear from you and we understand your specific frustrations, problems with it. So we're going to build in more of a continual process for that and opportunity for that. But this is really where supports brokers can help with that kind of that matching process. And Anthony is available too. Sometimes we've had people with disabilities be like, this is really hard to use. What do I need to do? So we really do try. This is more about the support and the facilitation than it is about like the actual tool in many ways. We're also updating our terms of service for agencies. And this is another thing that we just want to emphasize too, because we know there has been concern like, well, are agencies just, you know, using this as a way to recruit? We try to be really, really clear. I mean, we're not agency police, but we're working on we're working in good faith. And we meet with agencies prior to them using the map to say that this is not your HR recruitment tool. It can be something you use, but we expect that you are working with the person and their family. You are not, we had agencies try and be like, well, I just want to put, 50 people on the list. And we're like, no, it doesn't work that way. Use Indeed. This is meant to be a resource and a tool for people and their families and their allies to use to direct and control this process, not for an agency to say, oh yeah, well, I found you 3 staff who live in your neighborhood. As long as the person and their family are intimately involved and leading that process, then this is your tool. But we've had to turn agencies away who just simply either don't want to work that way or claim they don't know how to work that way. And just so you know, we've offered some free technical assistance to those agencies to try and help them better understand. Some are open and willing and others are not. So just wanted to put that out there.
Got a couple questions in the bottom.
Okay.
Yep, I'm answering a little bit of it. So the collaborative is really working in collaboration, working with Easter Sales and PPA and DDD,
Yes.
And doing webinars like this. And we appreciate CLEP or CLEP. It just sounds strange. CLEP to invite us to do this, but we're trying to advertise this as much as possible. And again, if you don't have more hours for your SDE and they're looking for more, I would suggest you offer this as a resource. As support brokerage agencies, again, to kind of use it and to say, hey, I found this staff, you're looking for more hours. I can't give you for this family, but you could advertise it here. And we've been working with support coordination agencies, again, the same thing. Hey, if there's somebody just that this family said, oh, I can't use that staff anymore, and they're looking for hours to offer this, because again, it's free for all of those other human beings to use this. So why not advertise for free, right? Like that makes most sense. I'm available these hours. The more details the staff puts in and the more details the family puts in, the better match that might be possible.
Right. And we can always kind of come back to this group if you're willing, as we start to design out other components of the map, to have you look at it and be like, absolutely not, or no, this would be pretty cool. Like I think I got something from somebody about, the fingerprinting and being able to indicate where a person is along the lines of the requirements being met. And you can see it's already started to be built out. We could certainly make it better. And we want you to know we're committed to doing that. And we appreciate any and all feedback.
That's wonderful. Mary, we'd be happy to do that in a few months when you feel like there's been some additional updates. We could even help with a small focus group to give it a test run. So yeah, please do feel free to reach out and we can absolutely do that. And thank you, all 3 of you, Anthony, Marion, and Amy. That was so valuable and so helpful. I want to just share our last kind of couple of slides here just to make sure we're all getting our final pieces of information, and bear with me, I apologize. And we will also, just as a blanket statement, the recording will be sent out to everyone. Again, I'll share the slides within that email. I'll share the links that we shared through the chat box for some of those resources that were mentioned. We'll be sure to share those again in case you missed them, no problem. A reminder of Patricia Brennan's office and how to email that help desk. Several of you asked about, how do I find a support broker? What is that? The DDD has a listing of support brokers and they are more than willing to share that with you. A reminder, and you'll get these slides too. So just a reminder of our contact information at CLEP. We do encourage you to sign up for our newsletter. Don't worry if you can't catch the link here, that'll be in the email as well. But that's how we publicize upcoming programs. So two last things we want to share. Coming up September 11th for that first week is Direct Support Professionals Recognition Week. And I'm going to share this in an email with you. It was in our newsletter that went out today. But we would really love to highlight and recognize this week. So we're going to share with you some prompts. And if you'd like to give a shout out to your to someone that works with you or your loved one, we're happy to promote that and share that. So some things you might want to frame it in your own mind. You know, is there something you want to say to your DSP, or is there something you really appreciate about the work they do, or do they make you smile when they do something in particular? If you want to highlight how they go above and beyond, we'd love to give that shout out during the week. So Laura, who I mentioned earlier, Susan, thanks for that question. Certainly for self-directed employees as well. Happy to include that as well. So I'll share this in the email that's going to go out. And again, Laura is our communications person extraordinaire who will help make all of that recognition happen. As you know, and Patricia mentioned this earlier, we've been doing these conversations monthly now for about 6 months. And our intention was to kind of regroup after this batch and see what people are looking to learn more about, and then come back and start it up again. So
please email our help desk as well if you have ideas.
Yes, absolutely. I'll ask for them in the email. You're going to get an evaluation where we ask for your ideas. If you want to toss them in the chat box, we'll capture them there. Just reach one of us, because we're happy to touch on topics that maybe we haven't really thought about.
And I want to give another plug.
Yes, absolutely. Please
Sure.
do.
So we are going to be starting from your first session when you told us what types of networking groups you wanted to be having. We are going to be starting those sessions in the fall. So we've focused on 3 different themes. One is for people who want to self-direct in their families with high needs, for people who self-direct in their families who are aging and the aging caregivers, and for people who self-direct in their families who are about to graduate or newly graduated, so the young adult group. And then we're going to be pocketing it into different parts of the regions, but we really want to start these to have these nice conversations hosted by the division, hosted by our lead self-directed services team. So our Office of Self-Directed Education, to kind of help you provide education, but to help facilitate you all providing each other education. So you will all be able to do that. So if you have, be on the lookout for those, which would be awesome. And once you're on the lookout for those, then just continue on. But we wanted to,
Wonderful.
keep your eye open. We'll be having them out there. We hope you attend. We'll be blasting them out. Thank you.
All right, fantastic. Thank you all for joining us right on time, and have a wonderful start to your autumn and new school semesters and kids back in school and all of that stuff. And watch for a follow-up email. And please do give us your feedback in the evaluation when I share that link again, because we definitely want to always work to improve these in whatever way works best. And finally, another thank you and shout out to our presenters. That was really valuable. I appreciated the whole front end of that, to remind us about the importance of really understanding what's most important for ourselves or our loved ones. So, all right, be well, everyone. Take good care. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everyone.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Anthony.
Bye-bye.